Not here. Call regular city council meeting Tuesday, September 8th, 2015 to order. Clerk, call the roll.
Alderman Putoff.
Here.
Ferrari.
Here.
Waldorf.
Here.
Lukosius.
Here.
Radke. Mueller. Sapienza. Payton. Mayor Harrell.
Here. Pledge of allegiance. Okay, do we have any presentations? We have a public comment card, Ms. Claudia Makishka, Friends for Peru Pool. Claudia? What does Mark need? Does anybody know?
We're doing it again. This is our 5th time. Last time we were very successful. We hit $2,000 in what we raised. And of course, we always want to do as well as we did the last time. So the sale, the different thing this time is it's going to run for 4 days, November 11th, which is a Wednesday, through November 15th, which is Saturday. So you have 4 days instead of 2 days to use it. And we would appreciate if everyone here would buy a booklet. But also, I'm asking people, could you take a bundle and could you sell? You all know different people than what the people on the committee know. So if each of you could sell 10 booklets or 20 or even more, that would just make the total that much more. Based on how many we sell, Bergner's does a calculation at the end because they sell some booklets at the register, and we get a cut of that if we sell enough. And last time our cut was very, very good. We sold pretty close to what we'd sold the previous time, but somehow or other our cut was a lot more. So the more we sell, the bigger our cut will be from Bergner's. So I'd appreciate it if you'd come, and I have them in bundles of 10, and take that and sell to the people you know. Yes. Alderman Mueller and Alderman Waldorf all already have bundles of 10, and Sherry Mazak took a bundle of 10 also. So we'd like to add your name to the list.
Thank you, Claudia. Superintendent Cross, did we have something, was there something that, Chief, did you wanted?
Later on in the meeting.
Okay.
Ordinances.
All right, sounds good. Well, that's what I was saying, if you want to do it now. Okay, do we have a motion? Do we have a motion to receive?
Your Honor. Second.
Have a motion by Alderman Plouffe, second by Alderman Waldorf to receive the minutes placed on file. Is there any discussion? All in favor, signify by aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion approved. We'll move to committee. Finance and Safety Services, Chairman Putoff.
I present to the council total disbursements for September 9th of the year 2015. The disbursements total $996,788.54. I'll make a motion that these disbursements be approved, placed on file, the bills paid in the usual manner.
A motion by Alderman Plouffe, second by Alderman Payton to receive disbursements, place on file, and pay the bills in the usual manner. Is there any discussion? Have a roll call vote. Clerk, call the roll.
Alderman Putoff.
Aye.
Ferrari.
Aye.
Waldorf.
Aye.
Lukosius.
Aye.
Mueller. Sapienza. Payton.
Motion approved.
Your Honor, I'd like to make a motion to approve a monetary match to the Blue and Red Christmas for Kids program sponsored by the City of Peru in the amount of $1,000.
I'll second that.
A motion by Alderman Ferrari, second by Alderman Payton to approve the Blue and Red Christmas for Kids program sponsored by the City of Peru in the amount of $1,000. Is there any discussion? Have a roll call vote. Clerk, call the roll.
Alderman Putoff.
Aye.
Ferrari.
Aye.
Waldorf.
Aye.
Lukosius.
Aye.
Mueller. Sapienza. Payton.
Motion approved.
Your Honor, that's all we have currently from Finance and Safety Service.
Okay, Public Services, Chairman Waldorf.
Yes, Your Honor. Alderman Lukosius, please.
Yes, tonight I have the electric monthly report for the month of July 2015, and during this period, total kilowatt hours sold amounted to charges of $2,277,516.99. I'd like to make a motion that we accept this report and place it on file.
Second, Your Honor.
I have a motion by Alderman Lukosha, second by Alderman Waldorf to receive report and place on file. Is there any discussion? All in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried.
Next, I have the Public Services Report for June and July of 2015. I would like to make a motion that we accept this report and place it on file.
Second, Your Honor.
I have a motion by Alderman Lukosha, second by Alderman Waldorf to receive public service report and place on file. Is there any discussion? All in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried.
Your Honor, I have the City of Peru water and wastewater treatment plants report as of July 2015. This report shows that the total water produced was a little over 83 million gallons. At our wastewater treatment plants, the East plant, we treated a total of 79 million gallons, actually a little bit more than 79 million gallons. And at our West plant, treated just a little over 38 million gallons. I would like to make a motion to receive this report and place it on file.
Second.
I have a motion by Alderman Waldorf, second by Alderman Lukosha to receive water wastewater report, place on file. Is there any discussion? All in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Next, Your Honor, I would make a motion to authorize the mayor to sign all documents related to the right-of-way acquisition as part of the North Venture Drive roadway realignment improvements project.
Second, Your Honor.
I have a motion by Alderman Waldorf, second by Alderman Mueller to authorize the mayor to sign all documents related to right-of-way acquisition as part of the North Venture Drive roadway realignment improvements. Is there any discussion? Have a roll call vote, clerk call the roll.
Alderman Putoff.
Aye.
Ferrari.
Aye.
Waldorf.
Aye.
Lukosha.
Aye.
Mueller.
Aye.
Sapienza. Peyton.
Motion approved.
Next, Your Honor, we have a motion to authorize the city engineer to seek bids for the North Venture Drive roadway realignment. I'll make that a motion.
Have a motion by Alderman Mueller, second by Alderman Sapienza to authorize city engineer to seek bids for North Venture Drive. Is there any discussion? Have a roll call vote, clerk call the roll.
Alderman Putoff.
Aye.
Ferrari.
Aye.
Waldorf.
Aye.
Lukosha.
Aye.
Mueller.
Aye.
Sapienza. Peyton.
Motion approved.
Second, Your Honor.
Have a motion by Alderman Sapienza, second by Alderman Mueller to award the Wenzel Road MFT project to the lowest bidder. Is there any discussion? What is it? Eric Carls.
We opened bids this morning at 10 a.m. and the low bidder was Len Trevero Construction at $118,810.30. Our engineer's estimate on the project was $134,000. So we'll submit the proper paperwork to DOT for their review and approval, and then it'll come back for signed signature on the contracts.
And it was competitive bid. The difference between first and second was $45.16. So it was a competitive bid. Okay, we'll have a roll call vote, clerk call the roll.
Alderman Putoff.
Aye.
Ferrari.
Aye.
Waldorf.
Aye.
Lukosha.
Aye.
Mueller.
Aye.
Sapienza. Peyton.
Motion approved.
Next, Your Honor, I'd like to make a motion to execute a Comcast access agreement for the utility easement at Ed Urban Drive.
Second, Your Honor.
Have a motion by Alderman Mueller, second by Alderman Waldorf to execute Comcast access agreement. Is there any discussion? Have a roll call vote, clerk call the roll.
Alderman Putoff.
Aye.
Ferrari.
Aye.
Waldorf.
Aye.
Lukosha.
Aye.
Mueller.
Aye.
Sapienza. Peyton.
Motion approved.
Second, Your Honor.
Have a motion by Alderman Sapienza, second by Alderman Waldorf to extend Peoria Street improvements to 8th Street per awarded bid price. Is there any discussion?
I take it, Your Honor, that originally the idea was to go to 9th Street, and with the savings, the city was able to recoup that or make it to go to 8th Street, right? Okay, thank you.
That's correct. You want to add in there, Engineer Carls, that you were thinking of going another block, but the direction of stormwater changes.
Yeah, we're actually looking at extending all the way to 7th Street, but further investigation going to 7th Street, we have a portion of our Area 3 sewer separation project that reaches over to 7th Street at Peoria. So quite frankly, we didn't want to construct a new roadway there, knowing that we had to come back to address some of the storm sewer at that intersection. So that, from 7th Street to 4th Street, will fall into line as we move north with the sewer separation project.
Okay, and it cleared through finance officer, right? What are you gonna do? And as we talked in the committee of a whole, Alderman Waldorf brought it up, and then we talked about it a little bit, how are we gonna pay for it? Okay. Are these checks good? Anyway, if there's no further question, we'll have a roll call, clerk
We
call
are
the roll.
incurring no debt.
Alderman Putoff.
Aye.
Ferrari.
Aye.
Waldorf.
Aye.
Lukosius.
Aye.
Mueller. Sapienza. Peyton.
Motion approved.
Chief Burnaby, do you have anything? Chief King? Chris? Your Honor, that is all from Public Services. Thank you.
Okay, reports to city attorney.
Yes, we have an ordinance authorizing acceptance of a utility easement from Robert and Shelley Chapman, be ordained mayor for on behalf of the city is hereby authorized and directed to execute, and the city clerk for on behalf of the city is hereby authorized and directed to attest acceptance of an easement from Chapman. And Eric, you can explain the necessity of that.
So working with our electric department, working with Kai, as you know, with the improvements being made at the airport and the recent developments out there with the new hangars, working on improving our electrical system in and around the area. So looping the system is very important. Granting us access for this easement will allow us to loop our system in that area around Ed Urban Drive. I've talked with Mr. Chapman, and Kai has met with him on a few occasions. They are comfortable with what we're requesting. They currently have an existing easement on the north side of their property. We're requesting to expand that easement as well as come down the west side to complete the electrical loop.
Anything further?
I'll make a motion that the ordinance be adopted as written and read.
I'll second that, Your Honor.
Have a motion by Alderman Putoff, second by Alderman, where'd it come from? Lukosius, that the ordinance be adopted as written and read. Is there any further discussion? Call the roll.
Alderman Putoff.
Aye.
Ferrari.
Aye.
Waldorf.
Aye.
Lukosius.
Aye.
Mueller. Sapienza. Peyton.
Motion approved.
Next, we have an ordinance amending the code of ordinances concerning stop signs. Be ordained to have a stop street would be Shooting Park Road for eastbound and westbound traffic at its intersection with West Street. And the chief can explain that.
Well, Superintendent Cross is here as well to field any questions. This isn't actually something that's a surprise to Mark or myself, but we didn't want to, I guess, make the official recommendation to the council until we had an opportunity for the school to open and watch the traffic flow. And we saw what I think we both anticipated would probably happen, but we wanted to see it for ourselves. And we found that there, for a variety of reasons, not just the school, but I'm recommending that the council, at least on a trial basis, and when I say trial, I think it's the right thing to do right now. I think it's the safest thing to do right now. But it's like anything. If we find out in time it isn't, then we can always undo it. I don't expect that to be the case, but we do have a situation with the new school up there. West Street is, as everybody knows, is an extremely busy place for a lot of reasons. We have two major parks that people traverse down to West Street off Shooting Park Road to get to Centennial, people to get to Washington Park, and obviously to IVCH Hospital. So it's a very highly traveled road, and take the school part out of the equation. It is extremely difficult at many, many times a day for a northbound vehicle on West Street to take a left turn and proceed westbound on Shooting Park Road. So this is something that I've been looking at for quite some time. Had about 5 accidents over the last 12-month period at that intersection that probably would have been prevented most likely if we had stop signs in place. Again, with the school opening up, we quickly realized that by making the intersection effectively a 4-way stop, for our purposes, the city, it's only a 3-way stop because exiting the school is not a city street. They do have a stop sign part of the traffic plan at the school, but for our purposes, it's a 3-way stop practical terms, it's a four-way stop that's being recommended. So it's clearly makes it much safer for the kids going to the school, the parents that drop their kids off, the parents that are picking them up. I think we've been doing four-way stops during the pickup in the morning, and the most I've seen is 3 cars backed up, waiting to turn into school or exit the school. When we don't have the stop sign in place, we've had 25 cars backed up, and then you get people being frustrated and that sort of thing. So I think it will address the school time in the morning and the afternoon. I also think that if we're educating our public that's out there motoring, if you're going to have a stop intersection, it shouldn't just be certain times of the day. That can cause a lot of confusion. Is this a school day? Is it a stop sign? Is it not a stop sign? And I think it'll also help the West Street traffic in addition to the school, like I said, with the parks and with IVCH. So I think it's a good thing to do and try, and I think it will be successful. So, Mark, certainly interject whatever your thoughts are.
No, I think that pretty much sums it up. I've always liked the idea of a four-way stop, as I'd shared with Doug and maybe some of you in the past. I agree with Doug. We wanted to, Chief, we wanted to see how it would work. When we got into it a few days, and we had the police department there, and I really appreciate the police department's help as we transitioned. We knew this would take some time for people to adjust. We went through the same thing at Parkside 6 years ago. So anyway, I like it for another reason. And I'm not, obviously this isn't why you put stop signs or a three-way or a four-way stop in, but I like it because it'll slow down the traffic on Shooting Park Road. And I feel like that's going to be a much safer situation. We have a 20-mile-an-hour school zone there. All the streets around there need those signs. But right there on Shooting Park Road, cars don't go 20 unless the police are sitting there. When they're not sitting there, they drive 30, 35, 40, and that's a real concern. I think with a four-way stop, it's going to slow everybody down all the time. I think it'll make it safer. I can't imagine having an accident, at that four-way stop if it's there. So from the school's perspective, we're all for it. Once we put in those temporary signs, and I appreciate all the help with the city doing that, it just made everything flow on the south side. North side, we're still working at it. We've tweaked some things, and we will continue until we have that right and the traffic's not in the street. But we did what we said we were going to do. We brought all the traffic on site, and on the south side for sure, we've got that. I just really believe that for the safety of kids, and frankly, I think it's better for traffic all the way around the city for what it's worth. I think that would be ideal as a four-way stop 24/7. And Doug, I don't know if you mentioned, but we talked about it'd be a flashing red light too, correct?
Right, we have,
what it is now.
The amber lights, Kai
Yeah.
put in the 4 red, and that would be flashing like any of our other intersections down at Shooting Park in Peoria, and then up north Peoria and that sort of thing. So it'd be the stop signs also have the flashing red signals, as well as the stop ahead signs, that sort of thing.
Right. And we had, even when it was temporary, I'll just give you a little anecdote that people driving down the street, I had a couple people note, once we did that a day or two, everybody was wanting to stop at that intersection anyway. They were just coming up thinking, I need to slow down and stop because they kind of knew about it. So we'll help communicate that if the change is made, whether it's temporary, permanent, whatever the city thinks is best. But from running your school district, we really think it'd be better all the way around. It would also be a big help to those crossing guards. I realize we're only, 180, days out of the year in terms of basic attendance or school attendance, and it's only a couple hours a day. But when it's like that all the time, I think that would make it better all the time, and you decrease the risk of somebody thinking they're going 40 miles an hour and not paying attention flying through there, which has happened while it's a temporary stop a couple of times. So until people get used to it. So any questions that I can answer, anything I can add? That's all I have.
Okay, so I'd ask for a motion to approve the ordinance as written and read.
So moved.
Second.
A motion by Alderman Waldorf, second by Alderman Lukosius to approve the ordinance as written and read. If there's no further discussion, we'll have a roll call vote.
Alderman Putoff.
Aye.
Ferrari.
Aye.
Waldorf.
Aye.
Lukosius.
Aye.
Mueller. Sapienza. Peyton.
Motion approved. How's the new school going, Mark? How's the new school?
Since you asked.
The new school is pretty fantastic, thanks. Sit back, I got a few things to say. No, I appreciate the city's support, appreciate anybody in the room who was able to come out to Northview. If you weren't, I know a lot of people I talked to couldn't make it. We had hundreds and hundreds of people there. I'll show anybody around any of our schools anytime. But if you were, aside from traffic, you were inside the school, you'd have thought we'd been there for 6 months. That's how great of a week we had. We still have some construction items we're working out, some punch list items. You know how that goes. But that aside, we got some more traffic things to figure out. This is a big step. We're very, very pleased, and it's going very, very well. So thank you.
Good. Okay, we'll move into unfinished business. Alderman Waldorf, Alderman...
Next, Your Honor, I'd like to make a motion to hire a selected candidate for the position of apprentice lineman.
I will second that motion, Your Honor.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to hire the selected candidate for position of apprentice lineman. And is there any discussion?
I think you want to add that we've lost a few linemen recently, and these positions are filling those needs.
That's true. We also have someone in the pipeline to retire in 6 months or so. And, it's also a replacement for that particular individual. We're certainly short on help. I think in 2009 we had 13 employees, and now we have 8 or 9, including the new hire. 9 with the new hire. So we're watching our P's and Q's. The city's expanding. There are businesses talking about coming in, other businesses that have recently opened, and we just want to stay on a level basis and be able to provide the service that we've always supplied. Excellent service at that. So that's.
Okay, we'll do a roll call on the first motion by Alderman LaCoche, second by Alderman Waldorf, to hire the selected candidate for apprentice lineman. We'll call the roll.
Alderman Putoff.
Aye.
Ferrari.
Aye.
Waldorf.
Aye.
Lukosius.
Aye.
Mueller. Sapienza. Payton.
Okay, motion approved.
Next, Your Honor, I'd like to discuss and hopefully approve continued interviews of existing candidates for a second apprentice lineman.
I'll second that motion, Your Honor.
Okay, you discussed part of that. Does anybody have any questions on what Alderman Waldorf, on his discussion?
Comment on that.
With the way we're expanding and everything we're doing, and plus with us being shorthanded, it's just a good piece of business, good operating to do this, because we're having trouble finding qualified people. So we have to keep looking, we have to keep interviewing.
And we do have a list of candidates right now, and we do have qualified people in that list, and so we want to take advantage of that at this time.
That's a good point. That's a good point, because we would be behind the 8 ball if somebody left and we didn't have somebody up to speed.
Your training curve will be there too, because with your apprentice, you can get them through quicker. So by the time that person goes to retire, we're gonna be right at our curve to get a journeyman coming in, which is what we're trying to get anyway.
Okay, we'll have a roll call vote, clerk call the roll.
Alderman Putoff.
Aye.
Ferrari.
Aye.
Waldorf.
Aye.
Lukosius.
Aye.
Mueller. Sapienza. Payton.
Okay, motion approved. So we have discussion of Econo Lodge. I'll turn it over to corporate counsel.
Yes, we'd like to talk about the Econo Lodge and the ultimate future of that property. And this is meant as an open public discussion, so anybody from the press or audience that has any questions at any time, or the city council, please stop and we'll answer them, the best we can. We want to make the process as transparent as possible. The city acquired the Econo Lodge property on March 16th pursuant to a judicial deed issued by Judge Holland. The property is some of us older folks remember, was originally Howard Johnson's, and then subsequent motels after that, the last being the Econo Lodge property. It comprises a tract of 7.30 acres. The contiguous properties to that, there's the Arby's, and then next to Arby's, there's a tract of real estate that's 3.113 acres, owned by generally the Myrtle family. It's all the Myrtle heirs. The old Motel 6 property is owned by an entity which I assume is owned by Dick Janko, and that's a 1.96 acre parcel. So that would be the property that's contiguous to the west of the Econo Lodge property. Right behind the former Motel 6 property is another parcel that would also be contiguous to this, owned by the Trumpeter Estate, and that's 1.07 acres. And if you drive down 80, it's that dilapidated crib or barn that's on that 1.07 acres. So the city acquired this property through a demolition action, and under a relatively new portion of that statute, we were able to get all the prior real estate taxes wiped out, including a reimbursement back to the city of the $25,554 that we had purchased at a tax sale, thinking that might be the most expedient and easiest way to acquire the property at that time. As you may recall, there was a gentleman from Texas that bought that property for $40,000 at the bank foreclosure sale, and then he did nothing. And it was after that, like a lot of them, all kinds of promises, but no action. So after he did nothing, it was after that time then that the city commenced demolition proceedings on the property and ultimately acquired the judicial deed. City has about $40,000 expense into the property, including legal fees, title fees, engineering fees, and environmental testing. With respect to the environmental testing, there's no lead paint, correct me if I'm wrong on anything, Eric, and there's very minimal asbestos, mainly some caulking of windows and a portion of the roof, but the estimated cost of the asbestos remediation was under $20,000. The estimated cost of demolition, Eric, was $540,000, is that correct? So, you're probably looking at some figure of $600,000 or less to raise the existing structures that are on there. City doesn't want to be in the real estate business. Obviously, the city would prefer not to spend $600,000 on raising that structure, neither, but it's right at the gateway to the city. It's very blighted, and it blights that entire area, and sometimes you just have to bite the bullet. So we took a look about what could be developed on that site. And any big box retailer, not that any have been contacted because they haven't, not that any have expressed interest because they have not, but we wanted to see, what could be placed there. So you go from a big box and then work your way down. But a big box retailer, generally around 4 acres, the size of the building. Typically want 500 car parking. It takes 1 acre for every 100 cars to park, and then approximately 10% of any development area has to be dedicated to stormwater retention. So you need a 10-plus acre site. With that in mind, I had contacted and requested a meeting at my office with the Myrtle family, because they own the contiguous property to the east. Janko and the Trumpeter Estate, property, because they own the, property to the west. At that meeting in my office, and I had spoken with, Terry Myrtle on a couple of occasions before that, but, Jim Happ, appeared on behalf of the Myrtle family. Dick Janko, appeared on behalf of himself. Bob Huber and, Jonathan Brandt, appeared on behalf of, Trumpeter Estate. Also, Dave Sickley, I saw him since he owns some property up there and he's a developer. I invited him, and John Brandt had also represented the Pohars because they're most feasible party to do any demolition. We had that meeting. They said they'd get back to us. They haven't gotten back to us yet because we would really like the city to be taken out of it. But if we have to jointly develop it, you know, that's something that may have to be done too. So all of it was put on the table to see if we could get a responsible party to take the property as is, under the following conditions. One, that the city would be paid back now the $40,000 that we have incurred so far. That secondly, and most importantly, that the property be raised, all the structures on that property be raised, and there would be some commitment or guarantee that that work would get done. That would have to be in the form of, one, cash held in escrow, two, an irrevocable letter of credit, and some time period about when that raising would be completed. Obviously, it's cheaper to do any raising of structures during the winter when contractors or demolition people aren't that busy, so the time is ripe on that. Any conveyance of the property from the city to any developer or anybody else, we'd have to put covenants and restrictions in the deed. Number one, and most importantly, is that property can never be used for an adult use. I don't think the property there is appropriate for manufacturing or a trucking concern, not that they ever would. The cost of real estate in that area is much too high to make that feasible. The city would like to either one, and preferably number one, just sell the property upon those terms, turn the deed over, and let private development go on from there. Or two, if we can't, even enter into a joint venture agreement. And if you have a joint venture agreement like that, it would either have to be with the Myrtle property to the east and or the Janko property to the west, and possibly part of the Trumpeter property. The Trumpeter estate property made it pretty clear that they have no interest in doing anything other than selling their property. All of that 30-plus acres on the Trumpeter estate is presently listed at $80,000 an acre with Coldwell Banker. They want $85,000 for the 1.07 acres north of the Motel 6 property with the existing crib or barn on it. There is some, I understand, asbestos siding on that barn or crib. So what's the city's left? And the city's going to proceed with demolition regardless if there's any other interest in the property. It's just, you can't let it sit there. I mean, you've seen some of these blighted intersections, and we have, I believe, the nicest intersection from, you know, at least Joliet to the Quad Cities, and the Quad Cities doesn't have anything that's too exciting. And it is a very prime piece of property. We already have the Crazy D problem or situation on the, east side of that intersection. So this needs to get, done, and I think it'll also enhance the, viability of the former Kings Inn property on the north side of, May Road that the city also owns. So the idea is to submit, and advertise, requests for proposals, giving those parameters. See if anybody, comes to the table upon those terms, minimum terms. Obviously, the city would take whatever is in its best interest, but the minimum terms would be for the $40,000, and then secondly, the most important thing, to agree to raise the property. I am not optimistic, of receiving any, proposals, but it should be put out there. We did it twice on the Mirror Building. We never received a proposal. It was advertised on 2 different occasions, the, Mirror Building. One thing I'd also like to say on that Mirror Building, because there's been a lot of false information on that. That Mirror Building long paid for itself, because it was pre-leased to IVCH, on a 10-year lease, and then they extended that lease, a few years beyond that, plus, the Emporium was in there, and that paid for itself. The Mirror Building on the IVCH lease, and it was so structured in that pre-lease to essentially pay for itself, and the city, of course, enjoyed the city council, chambers. But more importantly, if you recall what used to be there was that Ted Dawson apartment building, and I remember to this day Harry Debo and I walking down the alley and rats coming out of there. There was the, Vogue dress shop, and, it was just a very blighted area. So I thought the, city council at that time did a, very, aggressive downtown redevelopment plan. And the Hub's Pubs and the No Saloon and all of those were, raised as part of that redevelopment, and I think it's a downtown that can be, proud of, and that was, conceptually designed by PGAV out of St. Louis at that time. And those, properties, were acquired, and then they were sold after the buildings were raised at $5 a square foot, which was the appraised price, then determined by Mike Crowley, Senior of Real Estate Consultants, and that was the basis for those, redevelopment agreements. But in any case, the, proposal on, this, if that's the way the council wants to proceed, is we would, just put out a request, for proposals, be received 2 council meetings from now, and see what, if anything, comes in. If nothing comes in, we're back to, square one. The other important reason is why we want to move on this is there are some important trade conventions coming up. And it would be nice to have a, brochure. That's why even if the other people didn't want to, do anything with our property or buy it or even go into a joint venture, we wanted to get a commitment on the sale price. So it could be presented in a brochure and says, I have somebody, now they want to, come in, and then as soon as you find out somebody coming in, they jack up the price, and then nothing gets done. So that's where we're at. Anybody have any questions, comments? And really, the press, members of the audience, speak up.
Everybody's in favor of putting out the RFP.
Yeah, I think we've talked about this for a long period of time and how important it is for particularly our retail development in that area. Certainly, it's a gateway to the city, so I think that's a positive point. I don't know how long it's proper to put it out for RFPs, but I would suggest we do that very quickly.
Yeah, no, we'll get that over the newspaper tomorrow. Well, I was thinking come back 2 council meetings from now. I'm saying we did it twice in the Mirror Building, never got anything, and then eventually it went on a private sale, which, have the authority to do that, but it's out there, so anybody wants to undertake that, expense of tearing it down?
Does anybody want to wait till the 19th? So we'd have a council meeting on September 21, have a council meeting on October 5 and the 19th, because we'll be in Chicago at the shopping convention, you know, to see if we can raise any interest up there. The 10th, I believe.
Convention is, the 7th and 8th of October.
Right, I'd like to have a chance to talk to the people in the convention. That attracts quite a few people. Is that all right?
Convention that you're talking about is the 6th, 7th, and 8th of October. So I would like to, maybe push it off for at least the 13th.
Well, they would need to be in, let's say, by the 14th, you know, before the finance safety meeting, and then, you know, we can discuss what comes in, and then do something on it on the 19th. Like I said, you know, there's thousands of people in Chicago for that shopping convention, and all the heavies are up there. So we're gonna be there talking. So the 20th,
October 14th?
I think that's
What
fine.
time?
That'd be, right, but we wanted to wait to receive the RFPs until after the convention, which is the 6th, 7th, and 8th.
So Monday the 12th, Tuesday the 13th, finance would be Wednesday the 14th.
Yeah.
Monday the 12th. So do October 12th at 5 o'clock?
Yeah.
Receive any, requests for proposals? I really don't think you'll receive any, because they'll be out there. The other thing, anytime you're dealing with any national company, any publicly traded, company, just like a couple that are going on now, they have due diligence, requirements before they'll even look at a piece of, property. And, number one being environmental. I mean, you can't even sell a piece of virgin farmland to any of those companies without at least a phase one environmental. So I think it's, would be kind of naive if we think somebody's gonna come in from the outside of, that caliber and then undertake a demolition. It'll just be thumbs down as soon as they see that, even if they were interested. Because you have otherwise great traffic counts up there. That's the attractive thing about it. But, you know, when you have a blighted piece of property, they're just not going to undertake that. Mike?
That's what I was gonna mention. I'm not against expansion, but if you think about that area right there, with the traffic, excess traffic flow of what you would have in there heading to the east, right there at May Road, of which that's gonna be in the grounds maybe, I guess, of a new intersection type thing in the future for the city. But a definite traffic study would have to be done there, or you're gonna have another situation like you got at Venture Drive, and like what you just had here on Shooting Park Road at West. Because it's obvious there was no traffic study there, but when the easement was set for, right away for the school to be put in. It would have been before Eric was.
Mike, there was a traffic study. The city required one of the school, yes. It was an independent company.
Did it show much more of an influx?
Yes, it did, and we did have comments back to the school district on that, and just so you know, I guess, and Chief, maybe you can interject on this, my dealings with the school district are minimal, but we don't have jurisdiction over that, so we did have some comments regarding that. We, just like today, what we're going through, we alerted that it may have to become a four-way stop, and it's just become a reality that that is what it is, so that's the direction that we're moving.
Yeah, and just so we're clear, the jurisdiction is, the city has no jurisdiction on the construction of schools. As a courtesy, we ask them to come in front of design and review to have input. Under Illinois law, the Regional Office of Education is the building inspector. He issues all permits, accesses.
That was probably undisputably the law a year ago. I think it's changed. The schools don't think it's changed, but there was a, case up in the, suburbs, within the past 6 months. Yeah, no, that's right. They've never, that's been the issue.
At their expense, there was a study, and as Eric said, it predates Eric, but our engineer then looked at it and made some comments just for informational purposes. So what happened is not a surprise to anyone, but we had no authority to do anything, other than please do a study, and so that happened.
And I've been moving in that direction, Mike, on all of these developments. As you know, when the movie theater development was on the table, we did require a study of them as well. They submitted it. Plank Road, we required a traffic study from them, and they had submitted it, and likewise here, and that would be, coordination effort between myself and the DOT, because quite frankly, that intersection is under their jurisdiction, so it would be between myself and them if that becomes a reality.
Mike, IDOT will be redoing that intersection. Do you have any insight as to when they might do it? I mean, it's one of the last, they redid Morris, Ottawa, and understand that sometime in the future, that'll be on the table to redo that intersection.
Okay, so what's the date that the RFPs will be in?
October 12th,
October 12th.
by 5 p.m.
All right. Moving on to unfinished business, Eric Carls, could you give a little update, because Route 6 is going to be disturbed a little bit at Rock Street. So what's going on there for the news and the radio?
Maybe some of you know, and we met last week with News Trib, and we ran a nice article on what was upcoming for the holidays here with a major project and meeting Route 6, and expecting some delays in the traffic and change in traffic patterns. Some of you may not have been through there today, but there was a few backups throughout the day, getting the traffic control set. Once the traffic control was set, everything seems to be running smoothly. So right now, currently, we have some barrier wall that separates the project from the eastbound lane. The eastbound lane is on the south-westbound lane, if you will, so all the traffic is pushed on the north side of Route 6 currently. We'll probably be spending a few weeks in the south lanes or the eastbound lanes of Route 6. Once the work is complete in those lanes, we will flip the traffic control and complete the crossing across Route 6. We're anticipating about a month. We have some bedrock in that area that we have to get through, depending on what the time frame is with that, and the difficulty of getting through that bedrock will dictate how long it'll take us to get across Route 6. All indications coming up Rock Street, the project has been progressing really well, so I anticipate that we'll hit the date. So probably come 1st of October, we should be completed in the Route 6 area.
Petitions, communications.
I have a communication from the Illinois Valley Animal Rescue requesting permission to use Rotary Park for their second annual Ethnic Food Fest on Sunday, October 18th from 11 to 3.
So moved.
Second, Your Honor.
Have a motion and a second to receive the communication and grant permission. Is there any discussion? All in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried.
Next, I have a communication from Rodney Perez of Operation Promise requesting permission to film a crash scene on Water Street on Sunday, September 27th, to request the closure of Putnam Street from First Street to Water Street, and Water Street from just west of Water Street Pub to Putnam Street, just before dark for a few hours.
I'll make a motion, permission be granted under the jurisdiction of the, I guess it would be fire chief and police chief.
Have a motion and a second to receive the communication and grant permission. Is there any discussion?
Yeah, I have a couple of questions. From just about dark for, okay. Did you talk to Russ or the owners of Brandy's?
No, the reason why I didn't,
Yeah. Well, I guess Brandy's wouldn't really be a big deal because they just have brunch in the morning. But I don't know what, anybody think that's an issue, no? Yeah. Yeah, okay. Good enough.
If there's no further discussion, we have a motion and a second. Aye to approve? Okay. Nay? Okay. Permission granted. Next.
Another communication from Rachel Donahoe. She's a Children and Family Ministry Director at the Crossbridge Community Church of the Nazarene here in Peru, requesting permission to hold a festival on October 11th from 2 to 4 in the parking lot behind Debo's. She plans on having carnival games, face painting, balloons, and all kinds of junk food, she said.
I'll make a motion to accept the communication and allow it.
Second that.
Have a motion and a second to receive the communication and grant permission. That's a Sunday from 2 to 4 in the parking lot. Is there any discussion? All in favor, signify by aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion approved.
Next, I have a communication from Jay Gingrich requesting a variance for property located at 2104 3rd Street.
Okay, we have a motion to receive communication, place on file, and turn over to zoning for review and recommendation.
So moved, Your Honor.
Have a motion and a second for turn it over to zoning for review and recommendation. Is there any discussion? All in favor, signify by aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion granted.
And lastly, we have a communication from LP requesting their permission to hold their annual homecoming parade on Thursday, October 8th. They want the usual request no parking signs be posted around the park on the day before the parade. The parade will also start again at Rotary Park.
Any problem with getting the signs up?
We'll take care of it.
Attaboy. I'll make a motion that we grant permission.
Second that.
Have a motion and a second to receive communication from LP on the homecoming parade on October 8th and grant permission. Is there any discussion? All in favor, signify by aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion granted. Any further communications? Public comment? Do we have any public comment? Okay, you have that. All right, thank you. Any other public comment? Okay, no closed session. Do we have a motion for adjournment?
So moved, Your Honor.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. Meeting adjourned.